Beethoven gets to the end of the movement and says, no, we're not going to let this C sharp stand. I'm going to go back and obliterate it. I'm going to go back and smash it into oblivion. There are two things that I find really, really interesting about the finale of Beethoven's Eighth Symphony. One of them is its form. A lot of people have said, erroneously in my view, that it's a rondo. It's not a rondo, I don't think. It's a sonata form. And the other thing is the well-known deliberate wrong note near the beginning of the movement. The piece is in F, and you get this really weird, loud C sharp right near the beginning of the movement that is then flatly ignored. It's absolutely hilarious. There comes a point after the recapitulation where Beethoven thinks, there's a problem here, I really ought to go back and sort out that C sharp that shouldn't be there, and he does it in spectacular fashion. The coda of this movement is also the coda of the whole symphony, so it's going to be longer, and we often talk about Beethoven's codas, but this one's particularly fascinating. What happens is Beethoven starts again. There's a lot of starting again in this movement. You get it a number of times, 5 times in the movement. You get this kind of repeated notes on the violins. And he starts again and gets to the point of the wrong note in the coda, and that's the point where he really grasps the nettle and says, actually, this C sharp will not stand. And he repeats it over and over. You don't just get it once in the coda, you get it bam, 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 really hammering away at it, saying, okay, we're going to sort this out. And then something terrifying happens. For the very first time in the movement's coda, you get the main theme of the movement in the minor mode. Usually all this kind of tonal arguing out happens in the development section of a sonata form, but this is going on in the coda, so this is kind of really problematic. The movement's over. All of the work of the piece has been done in the first half. But suddenly we're in this horrifying situation that this fairly kind of innocent sounding F major kind of frivolous tune is being played in F sharp minor. And what happens is he gets into this very, very tight loop of material. It's like a kind of stock record where it just goes round and round and round 3 or 4 times. And then suddenly the timps and the horns and trumpets come bowling in F major, just a real gear shift, and it resets the tonality firmly into F, the tonic. But it doesn't stop there, because all of this kind of turmoil that's been nascent in the sonata form and then rises to the surface in the coda, that can't be allowed to come back. So there's an incredibly violent thing that Beethoven does in the last few bars of the movement, where it's almost as if he's just putting beyond any doubt what the tonic is after this upheaval that's gone on. You know, in classical symphonies, you often get this kind of rocking between tonic and dominant in the last few bars, but Beethoven doesn't even bother with the dominant. It's just tonic, 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 tonic. And of course, this is the first symphony where the timps are tuned in octaves and not to tonic and dominant. So you've got this kind of low F and a high F on the timps, and it creates this incredibly brutal kind of impression of this tonic will not be shifted. It's not going to go anywhere. And the irony is, of course, that F major is quite a gentle key. You'd expect this sort of thing in D major, perhaps, but not in F. F is a pastoral key, so that's what makes it particularly terrifying and hilarious in equal measure, I'd say.